Hello, I'm Maria at Kaava Patterns. In this video, I'm going to be showing to you a full tutorial on how to make a Jenni trouser. In my case, I made a short instead, which is initially the same pattern, just a shorter version of it. So let's take a look at this design. You will find a belt, slant pockets, as well as an elastic on the back, which will enable it to fit different body types. Before we go, as an independent pattern company, I would like to ask you to leave a feedback and share your creation at the end of the process. Not only this will help others to learn about Kaava patterns, but this will enable me to tailor the content to your needs. Thank you very much, and let's get to the video.
Alright, so we're gonna start with the pockets. Take the pocket bag and place it on the top of the front panel, right sides together, and pin the two. Once that's done, you're going to stitch with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and be careful around that curvy part to make it nice and smooth. Next, you're going to notch, so this will help turning this part inside out. Once that's done, you're going to do a understitch on the pocket bag, stitching the seam allowances with the pocket bag. And make sure that you will not stitch on the front panel. We don't want this to be visible from the outside. This is not a top stitch, this is an understitch. Alright, so once you've got that done, you're gonna give it a nice press to set everything. So this is a pocket opening that we just did. Next, fold your pocket bag in two and pin the bottom. Of course, do not pin the trouser in the same time. Next, you're going to stitch the bottom of the pocket bag. So again, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Press the pocket bag nice and flat, and then you're going to overlock first the pocket bag, and then you're going to continue. So you're going to overlock the side seams, taking the pocket bags in the seam. And then also the inner leg seam, you're going to overlock that as well. We're gonna prepare everything right now. And I'm doing the same on the back as well. So I'm doing on the front and the back side seams and inner leg seams. So once that's done, I'm gonna go and assemble. So inner leg seams, first I'm pinning them together. And then I'm doing exactly the same thing on the side seams. So right sides together, I'm pinning the side seams. Okay, so next let's go and stitch this 3/8 of an inch once again. I'm stitching the inner leg seams and then the side seams, attaching the back to the front. Once that's done, you're pressing the seams open. And next we're going to overlock the crotch. So I do this step once the previous seams are already attached. That way I can get the two together. Alright, so once that's done, you're going to place one leg inside of the other, right sides together, and then pin the crotch. Make sure you're pinning the front with the front and back with the back. Just verify everything is okay. And then you're gonna go and stitch your crotch, so with 3/8 of an inch. Alright, then I'm gonna go and press just the beginnings of the crotch seam. I'm not gonna go and press right into the crotch, just the parts that are near the belt and the middle front. Then let's go into prepare the facing. So over here I'm overlocking the bottom of the facing, front facing, and now I'm gonna go and pin it to the front part. So right sides together. And normally the pocket opening is at 3/8 of an inch from the edge, from the side edge. Next you're gonna go and stitch it, so again 3/8 of an inch. So I'm stitching the facing to the front, to the middle front. And I'm taking the pocket bags in the same time. So they're gonna be secured into this seam. Next you do a understitch. So 1/8 of an inch from the previous seam on the facing. So once again, make sure to not stitch on the front panel. You keep this stitch on the facing and you stitch the seam allowances with it. Next, give it a nice press and then prepare the belt. So the belt, you're gonna fold it in two wrong sides together. Next, I'm going to mark the beginning of the belt. So it's a 3/8 of an inch from the edge. And I'm gonna pin the belt and stitch it with 3/8 of an inch, stopping at my mark. So you don't want to go until the edge. You stop at your, I'm stopping at my red cross, so you stop at your mark. Then you're going to notch and pin the belt to the waistline of the trouser. So as you can see, I started with extremities, so I started with the middle bag. I aligned the notch of the belt to the seam of the middle bag. Then I did the same on the sides, and then I'm pinning everything else. This way I'm sure that it's not gonna get pulled towards one of the sides. And so same goes here on the other side as well. First I'm aligning the side seams, and then I'm going to pin everything else. Next, let's go and stitch the belt. So again, 3/8 of an inch. And I'm stitching from, once again, it's the red mark to the red mark on the other side. Okay, I had a little hard time with this one actually. My waistline was a little bit bigger than my belt, because my fabric is a little bit elastic. So, and plus when you put that interfacing on your belt, the fabric becomes, it shrinks a little bit. So I had to pull it a little bit while doing this part. So next you're going to press your belt. So I'm placing the seam allowances towards the belt. Once that's done, mark the seam allowances on the facing 3/8 of an inch and fold them towards the facing. Okay, so once it's pressed, you're gonna do a top stitch, 1/8 of an inch from the edge, just on the facing. This will maintain the seam allowances on the inside. Next, you're going to mark the value of your belt, which is 1¼ of an inch. You could eventually do the other way around, marking the seam allowances, but I find it to be more precise this way. Once this step is done, you're going to fold the seam allowances towards the inside of the belt. Make sure to place the edge at the previous seam because you are going to stitch from the other side and you need to maintain or attach this layer as well. So it's really important that it's maybe even a little bit further than the previous seam to make sure it will get attached. And before I continue with the sewing, I just place few pins to make sure to maintain these layers together. Of course, you could do a basting stitch as well. It really depends on you what you prefer. So next, turn the piece on the right side and you're gonna do either a stitch in a ditch to maintain the belt or a top stitch. Over here I'm doing a top stitch with 1/8 of an inch from the seam. And you're gonna do this from the beginning of the belt to the end of the belt. So the whole it's not exactly a whole circumference because you have the front facing, but like from the front to the other side of the front. Once that's done, we're gonna insert an elastic. So over here I'm using a safety pin for that. And starting to insert my elastic inside of the belt. So I'm not gonna do this step entirely. I'm gonna insert only one part and then I'm gonna secure one of the edges and then continue and secure the other edge. So over here I'm gonna secure the first edge, just putting a pin to keep that elastic in place, and I'm gonna stitch in the ditch. This is a facing seam. And so once that's done, I'm gonna continue and insert the other side of the elastic, and then secure the other the other end. And here I'm going securing the other end. Okay, so now I have few more finishing touches and the hem as well. So I'm gonna hand stitch, this is the front facing, to the seam allowances, so you don't want this to be visible on the other side. And to finish off, we have the hems to make. So I'm marking the value of the hem. Which is 2 inches. And next I'm gonna fold the value of the hem towards the inside, so this is 2 inches wide. Okay, so once you've done that, you're going to draw or mark the value of your finished hem, which is gonna be 1 1/4 inch. So you'll have that 3/8 of an inch seam allowance that you're gonna fold on the inside of the hem, like I'm doing over here. And this one fits perfectly at the crotch level. So this is a similar idea like with the belt. You're gonna place few pins to maintain the hem. And then you're gonna go and stitch 1 1/8 of an inch from the edge. You're going to top stitch your hem. So great news, this is our last step. Afterwards, your trouser or short will be done. I hope that you enjoyed the process and that you'll get to wear your beautiful piece. Don't forget to share your creation and follow Kaava Patterns for more content like this. Thank you and see you soon.